And welcome to the DCG development update. We are here to share what we've been working on over the past 2 weeks. If you have any questions during the update, please post them in the live chat below using a Q or question prefix, and we'll be answering those questions at the end. So please stick around for the Q&A. Without further ado, let's dive in. Sam, would you kick us off?
Yes, I will.
All
Excellent.
right, let me find the slide.
So, 2 weeks ago, we presented Medusa and what we were doing with shielded transactions there. The big goal is to get all of that proof of concept into production-ready code. And that is even harder than writing it for the first time. So we have been doing that, and the progress has been phenomenal, and we are on track to get 3.1 at least to testnet this month, but probably released as well this month. So yeah, so I was on the shielded part with Ivan did some reviewing as well. I was heavily on GroveDB, heavily on GroveDB. I'll talk a lot about that. Then, actually, I was not on Dash Evo Tool. I'm sorry if I put my name in there. Oh, yeah, actually, I was on Dash Evo Tool. Did a few things, very few, but mostly it was Lucas and Pasta. Then on Rust Dash Core, we had Dustin Face, Borja, and myself, and then JSSDK Ivan. So we're going to do things a little bit differently because we're so much in the grind right now. I didn't feel like doing, like putting the slides in here. So instead, we are just going to do a 2-week update that I created like this, basically explaining my last 2 weeks of work. So in the last 2 weeks, I did 150 pull requests. Of those 115, 100 were merged over 5 repos. So let's go. So what were my PRs mostly on? Medusa and shielded transactions, I did 8 PRs. But that's actually not completely correct, because that is not counting the cryptographic trees that we needed for the feature. So there were 8 plus 7 PRs. Now, one PR is not equal to another PR. A PR is a pull request, right? So one can take 3 days, and then the other one can take 5 minutes. And that's what we're seeing with the 15 here: panic elimination and robustness, security hardening, performance optimization, test coverage, documentation, CI/CD, all of that stuff were very, well, I would not say small PRs, but they were heavily in a new workflow that I have, where I have like very dedicated AI agents. These are extremely tailored, let's put it like that. And they find things, and then they tell me, should it be done or should it not? And then I say yes or no. And basically it's a good workflow, and it's going really well. So basically we'll cover all that in the future. I also was we merged in the massive amount of iOS code about 2 days ago. And yeah, so we merged that into platform. We've been trying to do that for quite some time. So, that's a big win. And, right now I'm personally focusing on getting 3.1 out, but in parallel doing a little bit for iOS. Okay. Yeah. So Oh, this is the problem when no, it's fine. This is the problem when you use an artificial intelligence to make all the work that you've done public. It says a little bit too much. But yeah, so the first one is the shielded state transition and orchard bundle types. The second one having to do with a hybrid KM. So there was a lot of investigation that I did over around making the system quantum secure or quantum resist. Actually, no, this one would be quantum resistant for the quantum resistant node encryption. There are 5 areas of shielded transactions that need to be dealt with to make the whole system quantum resistant. Um, Solving one of them would do 80% of the work. Um, it is quite complicated though to solve one of them. So I did some work on it, more in a research capacity to figure out if we wanted to go down that path immediately or later on. And for right now, I didn't really want to bring this up. I will probably bring this up in 2 weeks and kind of explain it a little bit more in depth. So, um, yeah, we did a lot of stuff on quantum cryptography, a lot of added the trees to GroveDB. We can go to the next slide. Yeah, so basically we created a lot of new sub projects in GroveDB. We split everything out and we did this one at a time. So 2 weeks ago, when I showed everything working, we had these things, but they hadn't been really well reviewed. So let's just say it just was not pretty under the hood. But now it is extremely pretty under the hood. All the code is production quality, and it has been merged in for the 4 new types of trees. And we've actually done some refactoring as well to move the query part out of GroveDB, as well as getting all the proof system working that wasn't working 2 weeks ago. It was pretending it was working, but it wasn't actually working. Now it's all working. Yes, there's also another feature that was done called aggregate sum path queries that has nothing to do with Medusa. It was a feature request for 3.1 having it's actually not really the feature request, but what is needed under the hood for the feature request. And it allows for querying a sum amount up to a certain value, right? So you can say, um, in a tree that has some items. So that would mean like, let's imagine a tree where, different people have a number, and then you want to aggregate the sum and give people having a value up till a certain amount. Well, that's now possible with the aggregate sum path query. It was actually something that I started working early in 2015, but was it just the amount of tests needed to be written to make it production quality was very, very high. But with recent advancements of AI, we were able to write all those tests, find the errors in the actual code, fix them, all within about a day and a half. Whereas previously, a year ago, it would have taken me 2 weeks. So very nice. Um, Yes, we also did some improvements on feature gating storage depths compared to 2 weeks ago, and that works well now. Okay, let's go on. Okay, so I did a lot of stuff around making GroveDB very beautiful, and these are some of the tasks. Let's not really care about these. Let's move on. Um, yes. Also some security hardening. Nothing that I really believe could be an attack vector right now, but still wanted to, when the AI says, hey, there are these like 7 medium findings, you solve them because why not? But nothing very, very crazy in here. Okay. Yeah, and some performance optimization. Like it also says, hey, do these things and you will have GroverDB 1% faster. Okay, I'll do those things. So we did. Um, yes. Now test coverage. So at the very beginning of my venture into getting our test coverage to pretty much perfect, um, we were at 75% test coverage in GroveDB, which is actually pretty good. Most projects don't have that much. And now we are at 92%. 92% is considered like exceptional. Excellent is somewhere between 85 and 90. Above that, it's like really, really exceptional test coverage. So we're at that point now, which should make it so GroveDB no longer can really have any uh, you know, side issues. So, that's been done and that's no longer going to have to be done. So, it's more of a, we've been pushing this off for a long time and we're very lucky to have pushed it off because the amount of work necessary to do this without AI would have been years, probably, or months, many months. So we're done there. Yes, and we created a full documentation of GroveDB and translated it into 16 languages. Um, and it's great. And XK, if you're watching, can you put the link in the chat? That would be swell. Thank you very much. So you can view you can view it in your language. In fact, actually, do you have the link, Balash?
I'm looking for it.
Oh, okay. I have it if you want. I can send it to you and then we can.
You see it?
What? Yeah. Oh, you have it in white mode? Oh, oh, horrible, horrible. I didn't even know it came in white mode. So yeah, so basically it explains all of how GroveDB work in multiple sections and how everything, yeah, everything works under the hood, the batch operations. This is more documentation for developers, right? It's not really documentation for well, I mean, it's really it's more for developers wanting to contribute to GroveDB than external documentation on how to use it. But it's great to have, or somebody who wants to learn about how the internals work or something like that. So, it goes into many, many topics, including quantum um, cryptography at the end, and also the aggregate sum queries that we added recently. And here it talks about the thread analysis and like the various different issues that we would have on the privacy aspects with using having quantum computers. So um, yeah, retroactive versus real-time threads. Yeah, so it's very thorough. Um, yeah, so we also did CI/CD optimization. Okay, let's go into what we did for iOS and Swift. We merged in the iOS SDK with Borja. We fixed something with address balance synchronization in our SSDK. Oh yeah, so 2 weeks ago during the demo, I remember we actually had a problem with the balance synchronization. And then right afterwards, I went in and I actually checked that in the RS SDK and it wasn't working properly. So that's now been fixed. Yeah, some work on gap limit identity discovery in Platform Wallet, uh, some other things. Not very important. Okay, let's move on. I don't, yeah, I'm sure you guys are not very interested in this. Let's move on. Yep, some work on CI and maintenance and platform. I don't think people are very interested as well. Also, yep. Okay, so I think this is actually something that people are interested in. What is the timeline to version 3.1? So so this is actually, starting 2 weeks ago. There was a lot of work before that as well, but in the last 2 weeks, we merged in everything for the Grove DB shielded foundations. That's complete. Now we're in the platform integration review. We are about, I would say, 1/3 done in the platform integration. Maybe not even. Maybe probably more than 1/4, less than 1/3. In so yeah, there's just a lot of work. And when we were reviewing, so we're reviewing the code has about 50,000 lines of code. And of those 50,000 lines, about 1/4 has issues because it was most like, we have to refactor it, right? Or clean it up, or something was done wrong, incorrectly, or there's test cases that aren't well handled. So we have to fix that all up, and we are. When we're done with that, the platform integration, we will start an external audit. We will also be running this on testnet immediately in parallel and invite people to do shielded transactions. I'm hopeful by that time that we're on testnet, we'll also have at least an iOS beta that people can use to against testnet, so they can do shielded transactions and we can start playing around with it. That should happen, probably around the 20th of March that we hit testnet. That's what I'm hoping for. So then we're going to be on testnet for about 2 weeks. Oh yeah, so but that's about right. And then we'll hit a mainnet release. And then we will, once things are activated, 1 week later, we will do the iOS release. So I think that's the end of my work.
Yep.
Let us go on.
Yeah, I was really confused why the slides had so few slides this week, but I guess that explains it.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think I will do the same next time. Like HTML slides, right? Looks good, in my opinion.
It's just, I mean, I think what we're gonna need is because it takes so much time, right? Time that we could be doing other stuff, like getting features out faster. So we should just tell the AIs, tell us everything that everybody did in the last 2 weeks and make a slide presentation. Done.
Yeah, It's not as straightforward as you know, but yes, that's a good direction. Of course, we can work on that. And yeah, so let me go next then. Hi, so basically I will report quite briefly what I did in the last month, because 2 weeks ago I didn't report. In terms of Dash Evo tool, we merged together with Pasta big improvements in terms of SPV mode. So this is, I wouldn't name it stable yet, but working state right now. So the SPV wallet works, sometimes breaks because still needs some stabilization, but in general it's usable. You can use it, you can send transactions, stuff like that. So it's very big milestone. Still working on like some issues that are there. Also, I also go through the issue queue in Dash Evo tool and fix issues that we have reported there, including some deployment issues and stuff like that. One quite big change is that we have unified error handling. Now, when something goes wrong in Dash Evo tool, the message banner is displayed on top of page that looks the same every time. And it helps us to give the user better and easier, more actionable feedback. We are just in the halfway there. Now the big part of this task is to just write the error messages that are actionable so that people can understand what they should do about that error. It's not enough to say what went wrong. We need to guide user how to solve that themselves, right? But this is a big QA and bug fixing effort we are doing with a big input from Pasta, and also Andrzej, who is doing QA of Dash Evo tool, trying to use it and spinning issues I can happily solve afterwards. So that's the big Dash Evo tool. I will not go into details. If someone is interested, feel free to check either issues or the PR, closed PRs. But that's it. And yeah, we might do some like preview release in coming weeks once we have the SPV more stable. In terms of Dash platform, I did some, but also bug fixes in SDK. Mainly came from testing of Dash Evo tool. One big thing that Sam also did is that Dash book. So at Dashpay GitHub.io/platform, you can find a book where you have the platform described. I liked that effort, and I also deployed API reference. So if someone is coding something and needs documentation on that page, you can find documentation for API. And also some CI work. It was a month, so many smaller things. One quite important improvement in Dashmate is that we had a report from people who were running multiple networks on the same node, that after upgrades, there was some issue due to the port is already in use error. Right now, this should be by default fixed because we use different port number for testnets. So it's a breaking change for infrastructure. So if someone has a testnet node, some ports in 3.1 will be changed. And that's the important message. Yeah, and of course, the address balance and the whole SPV improvements that we use in Tender Dash. That we use in Dash Evo tool. On next slide, in Tender Dash, it's basically in the maintenance process. One new feature is that we can make an arrow list so that our tender dash node will only communicate with a pre-specified hard-coded node from the configuration. This is needed for some scenarios where you want to either hide your tender dash behind firewall, for example, or when we were doing some forks of the testnet chain, which I think happened in this month or previously, but if you do a fork, you need to have fully controlled environment for that fork. And then you just specify IP addresses of the nodes you want to use, and you can do the operation. And we need that fork capability because basically testnet is testnet, and sometimes something can go wrong on testnet. So we need to be able to roll back some changes in the chain or some blocks. And last thing to mention is that as a kind of proof of concept or alpha effort, I did a skill for the cloud code. So if someone wants to do anything with the platform, he can use this skill. It should know some in internal functions and examples of the Dash platform node code. Basically help developing, I don't know, data contracts or clients, all bundled into a small skill, not a complex thing, so quite easy to use, but basically I hope it will be useful for anyone. And that's pretty much it on my side, just small summary because it went quite fast, but I just counted 80 PRs I worked on, or I authored, I think it's by what I did. 67 of them already merged, 8 still open, and 5 closed without merge. So that was quite productive month. And it was really hard to summarize it in just a few slides as I did. That's pretty much it on my side.
Thank you very much. Boca.
Yeah, I was muted. Okay. Hi everybody. Today Kevin is not here, so I will make I will talk about his slide and the work he has been doing. And so far, I could summarize that he has been working on integration tests for the Dash SPV client. Something really important at this point that we have everything working, so we don't mess things in the future. A lot of the changes you can see here are issues found while writing the integration tests. I think we have them merged already. I think we merged the changes. Oh no. Yesterday the PR, the pull request with the integration test was open. We are discussing a couple of things, but today or tomorrow we have that in. I'm really happy about that. He also made some improvements on the client and the concurrency architecture, and as always, cleanups and refactors in the code base. And about me, okay, there you go. These two last weeks, I was working with Sam to get iOS merge into development. We finally got that merge. It was a pain. And now that everything is merged, I'm working on updating the changes we show in the last presentation, so we can get those changes merged in too. I'm also taking a look and studying the Swift SDK current state, so trying to find ways to clean the code base, clean unused code, refactor unnecessary logic before start writing the iOS app that's meant for production. And about Dash SPB, while working on the send transaction feature we show in the last presentation in iOS, I found a couple of issues in the transaction creation, so I started working on it. It's almost done. Have some issues right now with our own API, but it's almost done. Shouldn't take more than 1 or 2 days. Well, 1 day, I would say. Yeah. Along with that, I'm also refactoring the transaction creation logic in general. We are talking about moving some stuff, but usual development work. What else? And yeah, with all this happening, I left a lot of pull requests behind. So currently, I'm also updating my old pull requests with some cool changes. So eventually I can open APR and get those changes in. And yeah, as we always do, I clean and refactor some other aspects of the code base to improve scalability and quality of life for us. And yeah, that would be from my side and from Kevin's side.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Great, thanks. Yeah, on I kind of retitled this a little bit so it wasn't too confusing. I mean, this is just kind of features and maintenance on the existing apps in the stores on the Dash Pay side. So, I mean, just a reminder, we're kind of still on a skeleton crew here. And Eric is, I'd say, doing a great job on getting stuff out on Android, and we're kind of picking away at iOS. But on Dash Pay for Android, it's still, incremental sync improvements, adding compressed headers. We did finish the implementation of invitations, and we have a contact request issue that we're still dealing with, as well as kind of I'll say, not long requested, but kind of actively requested feature for credit transfers during the identity registration process. So that's kind of an entry kind of feature to get us in a position to start doing more with credits in the app. And then we had some delays on gift card purchases for Dash Spend. Still, small bits here and there on the redesign. We're focusing first on just kind of the setting pages and then tools. And then we had this relates to syncing, but also transaction kind of performance is not returning change for CoinJoin. That did introduce actually a bug, which we did a hot fix quickly to get addressed. And for non-CoinJoin related transactions, actually. And those releases went out 11.6.2 and 11.6.3 fixed that particular issue. The next version that goes out will be for the invitations and the credit transfer keys, as well as some of these other bugs and UI improvements. So that'll be the next feature set that goes out for Android. For iOS, a fix was done for multi-sig wallets. That went out in 8.4.854. That's fully rolled out now, and I was working on the shortcut bar. We had some formatting issues on a couple of different devices, as well as we had this on Android, but hadn't got a chance to do it on iOS. So now we'll have the customized shortcut bar, as well as some messaging associated to that. And then again, trying to keep the redesign work kind of in a line between iOS and Android, so the apps don't differ too much on the UI side. So work continued there. That is it for mobile.
All right, awesome. So core team has been nice and busy the past 2 weeks. First thing, course, 23.1 is still being rolled out. If you have not upgraded yet, you really need to. I might send out another reminder on Discord for people. We're getting close to the point where you might start getting proof of service banned. Of course, that all depends on how fast people in general upgrade. But I expect that this will increase to 70-80% relatively rapidly in the kind of coming week. So, and at that point, proof of service will really kick in. So if you haven't upgraded yet, now is the time. There's no reason to delay. So we can move on to the next slide here. And taking a look at everything that was done, this last set of 2 weeks was mostly focused on a refinement for 23.1.0 that was released, as well as a couple more UI improvements, mostly from, actually, I think exclusively from Kitty Whiskers. He did a good job getting some UI improvements done. I might actually demo those later as well. We'll see if I'm able to do that, because I think they're kind of cool. But so he also worked on some stuff that macOS Tahoe kind of changed some style requirements almost, or at least style recommendations. And so we decided to kind of follow along with that so that the app doesn't feel strange, to be quite honest. And so now it's kind of grayscale in the like menu bar and just a couple of things to make it feel a little bit more proper on latest macOS. A number of bug fixes. There were a couple of things related to how transactions were displayed in like the overview. And when I mean the overview, like on the main page, like CoinJoin transactions were poking through there. That was a regression or bug from 23.1, and that has since been fixed. There are a couple of BLS things that we identified in a like security audit type review that weren't actually problems, but like Sam had talked about earlier with some GroveDB stuff. There's sometimes where you're like, yeah, technically that's a problem in the library. It probably shouldn't do that, but also the way that we're using it, it's not exploitable. Maybe we have some other, guardrail that prevents it or something like that. But you want to deal with those issues anyway, because then, when you do another security audit, your agents don't like look at that and focus on that issue that you've decided isn't an issue. So even though it's not really an issue, you can just solve it and then they can focus on other things. So a couple of things related to BLS were improved. There were a number of just like refactorings, as well as some performance optimizations. We were experimenting some CI stuff to make CI faster. And right now, working on GroveDB integration is still in progress, as well as fuzzing, regression testing is pretty close to being done now. The fuzzing work was mostly stalled by just running compute for a long time. So for the past week or so, I've just been running compute on our fuzzers and generating a nice big corpus and making sure we're covering as many paths as possible. And so that has been quite good. Okay, so otherwise, a number of things in review here, but nothing super interesting that I want to discuss. So we can move on to the next slide. All right, so here's the list of PRs. This is pretty much stuff that I went over on the last slide, but just in a different format. You can read through these if you want. Mostly just, everything I talked about previously that was merged in. You can see here, so stuff related to 23.1, etc. But, and actually one final thing on this point, 23.1.1 was tagged this morning. There were a couple of small things in the release process that delayed us. I wanted to get this tagged earlier in the week, but it got tagged this morning. And so builds are now starting. At least I've started my build. I actually need to ping the rest of the team to please build. But so 23.1.1 should be coming out in the near future. It's just a minor version, really related around UI improvements that I think I will show relatively soon. But all right, let's go to the next slide here. And Yapper. So last demo, I didn't have anything that I wanted to show for, well, I did actually have a couple of things that I thought about showing. But I knew Sam was going to be taking most of the time. So I decided against it. So you should be able to see my screen here. There are two main things that I want to show off for Yapper this week. The first one is I'm just going to go ahead and sign in. And you'll see there's this new login with wallet QR code button here. I think I want to work on the styling a little bit and some of the UX around this. I don't love how it looks right now, but if I go ahead and bring open Dash Evo tool, I can bring this to the side. And in theory, this would be integrated into the mobile wallets as well. So that is kind of the goal. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to try to create a new identity here. And hopefully everything works. And I'm going to call it Yapper Demo and fund it from my wallet balance. So hopefully, well, there we go. So I now have Yapper Demo. And I'm sure I'll register a Yapper Demo 87. We'll register that name here. Cool. So now, if I go to log in with QR code, you can see it gives me this QR code. And I'm going to go ahead and go in here and go to app login. And right now, since I'm doing it, on kind of desktop on both sides, I'm just going to paste it in. And remember, this is a brand new identity that I'm going to use. I'm going to use Yapper Demo. So brand new identity, completely fresh. So I'm going to approve the login. And it says it's cool over here. Oh no. Oh no. It's always the demo. Did something fail? No, I just didn't see it for some reason. That's strange. I'll have to figure that out. Let's try again. So I'll log in with Yapper Demo. There we go. So it detected the first login. And on first login, we have to register a couple of keys to your identity to be able to use Yapper properly. So actually, you could look at the transaction that was created. And it's basically just some encrypted data. So it's not super interesting to look at, but it's basically just some encrypted data that gives Yapper a seed that is derived from your seed. So it doesn't get your seed or your seed phrase or access to your funds or anything, but it gets something that is derived from it so that you can log in the future and everything is deterministic. So I should be able to take this now, and this basically is saying, please make a state transition that adds these two keys to your identity. So we can click process over here. I can select the identity that it's going to use. I can select the key. It'll have to be a master key since I'm adding keys. You can see it's saying that it's modifying keys, so double check it. And you can see here we're adding a public key for these types. This isn't amazing UX. Probably we want to make this more human readable. But we're adding two keys. We're adding an authentication and we're adding an encryption key. And so I can sign and broadcast that. And then you see the keys are verified and registered. And then I can go ahead and register my user. So Yapper Demo will be my display name. And I can click create my profile. And now, boom, we've got our user on Yapper logged in. Everything is basically ready to go and use. Now we can do everything that you would expect. And of course, the expected kind of user story with this is probably logging in with your phone, hence the QR code, not really intended to be logging in from Dash Evo tool, but it's the easiest thing for me to implement stuff in, and it would be usable. So that's the first thing I wanted to show off. It is logging in with the QR code. And actually, I'm going to log out really quick. And if I log in again, it is a simple one-step process. So you just scan the QR code, log in, and it completes the login nice and quick. You don't have to do the two-step thing every time. That's just on first setup. So that's that. That's the first thing I wanted to show. The next thing I wanted to show was the new blog stuff. So blogs are relatively cool. The main impetus for this was to identify things that would be useful that we feel that we could actually deploy to mainnet in the relatively near future that aren't necessarily blocked by other like platform level improvements being necessary. So right now we can look at existing blogs. You can see I've made 2 blogs so far and 2 little blog posts. You can see that they're just tiny little blog posts with a little bit of text. If I go over to this blog post, you can see there's a lot more stuff going on. And actually, you can do quite a bit. So I'm going to show off a little bit of this, but these images are loading in from IPFS. So sometimes they're a little bit slow depending on the gateway. But these images should load. And you could set them to just be a normal HTTP link to kind of a normal server, or you could have them be from IPFS as it is now. You can have code blocks. And then also, just for showing how much text you can compress in here, you can put quite a bit of text. And the way that we're doing this is by compressing all of this data down and then just storing the compressed bytes on the chain. So it's cheaper because of that. And also you can post a lot more data. So I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to create my own blog. So I'm actually going to copy this image address. So this will be the live demo blog, a quick blog. And here I'm going to paste in the link that I want to use for my image, just the one that I have available. And actually, I don't think I could. I wonder if that resumes. Copy link. It does resume. So I could set. Oh, it grabs that one. Can I grab the image? Copy image address. There we go. So I could set that there, and I can create the blog. So when you create the blog on Platform Explorer, you can kind of see the transaction that happens. It's just a document. It's relatively simple. Only takes 2 cents apparently. And it links to the avatar. It has your description, it has your name, and it has the header image. So pretty simple stuff. But now I can click into the blog. And one of the cool things, you can configure if comments are enabled, but you can also do a lot of customization on the styling of your blog. So you can change stuff to be kind of just different styling. And then this will be displayed to users unless they choose to kind of disable it. So you can change how, opaque stuff is. You can honestly configure quite a bit. You can even embed some custom CSS. So if you know what you're doing, you can do quite a bit with this. You can change the styling. You can change the header layout and everything. We have a couple of styles built in. Maybe I'll go with magazine for this one. We'll see. So I'll save the theme updated, and then I'll go ahead and make a new post. And this drops you into a very nice little post editing flow, kind of inspired by something like Notion or Substack. And you can say live from the demo. And this will be a short blog that I posted on the demo. And so here you can configure whether this summary is either the kind of first paragraph in your post, because sometimes that's what you want to do, or you can configure it to be hidden from the post and it'll just show up on the kind of on the on any previews for it. So basically deciding if this is always shown on the post or if it's only shown in the preview. So we can go down here and I can make a, this is a heading, secondary heading. And I'm not going to go through everything because there's quite a bit. You can see there's a numbered list of, 1, 2, 3. There's quite a bit of stuff. You can have checkbox lists. You can add images or link to video. So you can link to either YouTube or like Odyssey link here. Delete that there. You can have various headings. Obviously, you can add emojis at your wish. You can have code blocks. You can have an auto-generated table of contents. So I can put like a table of contents up here. And so that will be generated based on the markdown kind of headings. And yeah, a lot of cool stuff. You can have tables. So really giving the ability to kind of use it as a more a more complicated, a more featureful kind of proper blogging experience rather than simply small posts. You can do little callouts that you can change the type of. Probably there should be some indicator here that this is clickable, but you can make a warning callout, etc. So, and also, I'm not going to do it right now, but you can just drag and drop images or paste URLs for images. And then if you drag and drop and you have IPFS configured, which I actually don't, so I'm not going to, but they will be uploaded to your IPFS provider and then used. So I'm just going to post this blog here. Actually, I don't remember. Somewhere there, here it is. So you can add labels to the blog post. You can also configure if you want comments enabled. And you can see all of this data so far is using about 671 bytes. And compressed, we can use up to 16,000 bytes. So like I showed earlier, you can put quite a lot of content in here. Theoretically, I could expand this to be able to support even more than 16,000 bytes, but I think 16,000 bytes is probably pretty good. It's actually a pretty good amount of content compressed. So yeah, that is pretty much that. Does anyone on the call have anything that they want to kind of see in this UI? Anything that they thought I should show off before I post this? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So you can take a look at those one last time. And all of this actually is saved as like a compressed, it's like a markdown adjacent format. But I can go ahead and click publish. And the post gets published. I can click into it and you can see some of the styling here I might need to work on a little bit. I think with the side-by-side format that I selected, some of it's a little bit weird. And there's also some weirdness, it seems, around light mode, dark mode. I never really test in light mode, so that probably causes it. But if I switch over to dark mode for the kind of viewing experience, it is a little bit better. Need to fix this. This is a bug of the like side-by-side, I guess. So I haven't seen that issue before. What I can do is I should be able to. So one of the kind of cool things is you can just take this and you can use a little embed script with the data, and you could embed this content on any other kind of web page. And so that is relatively cool. If you want to kind of post to Yapper, but be able to view it outside of Yapper, you can use this for that. There was something else that I wanted to, like I said, a little bit of formatting here is strange, but I can figure that out later. I'm going to go ahead and change back to my system theme. And then if I go in here, one thing that you can do, or at least it was supported at some point, maybe I broke it, because this is for posting a comment. I think I might have broken it. One thing you will be able to do is quote this onto your feed. And I should be able to find an example of that not too far back. So here's an example of what it will look like if you quote a blog onto your feed. And so it'll have like the banner image there. It'll have the blog post kind of title and the subtitle. And then users can click into it and see the content. So like I said, the main purpose of this is to have something that is deployable, that is functional, that is valuable, that we think makes sense to be able to ship to mainnet. Blogs don't really have anything that like need count trees or anything. And so we are able to, actually one thing I'm curious about, if I save the theme, I don't remember if it will retroactively update old posts. So I want to see that. Live testing on the demo. Hey, it does. So that retroactively kind of updated the theme and it fixed the bug based on the kind of the weirdness being up here. And I can set it to the author theme. Yeah, okay. I think that is all that I wanted to show today for Yapper. Two main cool things, logging in with QR codes, being able to make and view blog posts with a lot longer content and a lot more structured, styled content. There were a number of improvements to the store flow as well, based on some feedback, but I don't think I need to kind of get into that. But yeah, I think that's a wrap.
Thank you very much. So let's go to the questions. I believe we are there. So how can the community best contribute to mobile wallets, to mobile wallet features to speed up development? Is it worth submitting AI-assisted code for things like swap API integrations?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that. I mean, we've always encouraged community contributions. So, I mean, there's nothing that's changed on that front at all. I mean, now more the better since, we're lacking resources. I mean, as far as the guidance there, I mean, we can republish some of the, ways to do that and the process there, outside of the normal GitHub stuff. But, for major features, we just want to make sure there's good collaboration with us. You can reach out to me directly for that if you're, interested in something specific. I mean, from an AI perspective, I mean, I would not recommend just, submitting AI without any kind of review. I mean, anything that we're going to review, we want to make sure that it's, good quality code. Not that AI can't do quality code, but, I don't want people blindly, or if there are blind submissions of just AI generated code, it will just get dismissed. So, we want to be conscious of the quality of the code. So regardless of how it's created, just make sure that it's good quality and ready for our review.
Thank you very much.
I would like to echo that. Yeah, if you just tell AI to make a PR and then it just does it, and you're not a developer, there's no point, because just make the issue and we'll run AI, and our AIs are tuned better. They're under the hood, they're probably the same thing, but they have memory, they know the projects, they just write better code because of the memory and the tuning we do. So
Thank you. So next question. Can we get a commitment to keep the roadmap page as updated as we can before each dev sprint?
I'll start with that. I mean, we always try to keep the roadmap updated as best we can. I mean, there's always, just like any feature development and, major deliverables that we have, there's always a trade-off between resources and being able to do that. It's just maybe a little bit different with roadmap. Roadmap updates, the biggest challenge I'd say we have is, agreeing on priority. We're dealing with, community members, masternode owners internally. We have to discuss and debate, effort, and there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just saying we want this, we want that, right? We need to make sure that we're all on the same page on when we're able to actually realistically deliver certain things. We did more recently, before this update, make an update on the website. You will notice, some of the later deliverables, even though we've, done the best we can to prioritize things, priorities will change. But at least it gives a general idea of what's on our, I'll call, draft roadmap. With that, we always have to not only balance resources, but, regular maintenance, code refactoring, security, improvements. So there's quite a lot that goes into more than just the features that you're going to see on the roadmap. There's other work that, isn't necessarily as shiny and sexy to put on a roadmap, but it's required development work that has to be done that we have to take into account. So the short answer to the question is, we're always going to try to make sure we have the roadmap on the website updated. These dev updates are likely going to be, some of the early, possibilities of things that get added to it, but we are cautious in what we put on the website to try to make sure that we have a good plan before we put it on the website. So
Thank you very much. Does the Grove DB document explain how it works in sync with Orchard, or is that out of scope?
Yeah, it does.
All right.
I mean, in sync, like it doesn't synchronize, right? It uses Orchard as a library, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it does.
All right. Thank you. I see no further questions.
All right.
So
In that case, I actually want to share one more thing because I
Please.
teased it and then I forgot to actually demo it. Actually, I'm just going to do it this way again. So one of the main things that Kitty Whiskers has been working on recently is UI improvements. One of them is to this proposals tab. You can filter by active proposals, or if you have a wallet loaded and you've made proposals in the past, you can filter by all of your proposals that you've made. So here you can see all of the proposals that are kind of active. You'd be able to click into them and see content, or right click and open the proposal. You can filter by, or you can sort by the number of by the votes and by the status, and you can get this kind of sorted list. The other really cool thing that he worked on is there is this screen that will show you the last super block, the next super block, as well as when the voting cutoff is, so 14 days left right now, the number of masternodes that are actually voting, which is kind of interesting, as well as how many votes you have on your wallet, as well as some stats about the current voting cycle. So you can see here right now, 93% of the budget is allocated, and you can kind of click into, or not click in, but highlight into each of these and see what is taking what percentage of the budget. And I believe this is sorted by the net approval rating. So this is very cool. There's also this network page that has more information about instant send, quorums, chain locks, etc. I think the general page is pretty well the same as it has been, but this page, as well as the create proposal and resume proposal stuff, have been reworked in these I think in this latest version, some of this was done, but some of this may have been related to 23.1, as well as similar changes to the masternode tab. So some very cool stuff. I wanted to show that off. Cool.
Thank you. And if nothing else, I think that's a wrap. Thanks everybody for being here, for the questions, and see you in 2 weeks. Cheers. Bye-bye.